Okay, hi everybody. Good morning. Thanks for coming in today. Today we're very excited to celebrate our first Founders Day. Well, it's not our first Founders Day, but it's the first time we're celebrating Founders Day. Today we're celebrating 79 years of providing programs to men and women who are blind or have low vision. We're proud of this organization and its history, and we're happy today to be able to celebrate and revel in all the successes that we've had over all the years. We're grateful to all of our supporters, our trustees, our staff, and especially to you, our loyal participants who come to see us every week. We want to thank everyone for supporting our Day of Giving. It kicked off this morning at 6 a.m., goes through tomorrow afternoon at 3:43. That's one day, 9 hours and 43 minutes, celebrating 1943, the year that we were founded. Our goal, as you know, is to raise $7,900. We're hoping to exceed that, so we ask for your support. We ask for everybody out there on Facebook support, and we look forward to sharing with you our success in the coming days. Today we have a special guest with us, and I'm going to ask Linda to come up and introduce our special guest.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone. It's Linda.
Good morning.
So, before I really want Dave to take the opportunity to do all of the speaking, but I did want to just say we connected quite a while ago through Facebook, and his first book, Stand By Me RP, I would bring and I would read to one of the classes, and we often, it really impacted many people, as you will hear from his poetry. So I'm really honored and excited. And through social media and through our virtual program, he also spoke with our Aspire, one of our evening programs. So, arise. Arise. It is an honor to introduce to you Dave Steele, a.k.a. the Blind Poet.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Are we all good this morning?
Yeah.
Yes, how about you?
Fantastic. So, thank you for having me here today. It's the heavens have aligned. We're doing an event about 10 minutes away here, and I just happen to be in the country. I flew in from the UK yesterday afternoon with my wife and my son. It's my son Austin's first time in America. This evening we're flying to Orlando to head to Coronado Springs Disney Resort to speak at a conference there for Foundation Fighting Blindness this weekend. But it's amazing to be here. This organisation has been very close to my heart with the work that you all do, Linda and everyone, for quite some time now. And I've always wanted to come and say hi in person. There's been so many times I've done virtual events with you guys, but to actually be here in person is a real honour for me. So it really does mean a lot. For those people who don't know anything about me, I want to kind of give you a brief bit of my story and also share with you some of the poetry that kind of goes along with that. So, as Linda said, my name is Dave Steele. I am from the UK, a place called Manchester, and I have come to be known as the Blind Poet. The way that kind of happened, I'm going to share with you now. So, I have a condition, which I think maybe a few of you might be familiar with, called retinitis pigmentosa. RP for sure. Have we got any RP? We have. We've got a couple of RP system brothers in the room. Excellent. Okay, so for those people who don't know anything about RP, a little bit of a brief explanation. It's a hereditary condition, a genetic hereditary condition. There's no treatment or cure for RP, and the way you tend to lose your sight with RP is it starts off with night blindness, so struggling from light to dark places, and then you lose your peripheral vision like a tunnel closing inwards, and then central vision loss, and often results in blindness. The way I see at the moment is my left eye is completely blurred. I can't see out of that. I won't now no useful vision. And my right eye, I've lost all my peripheral vision, and I have a tiny bit of central vision, almost like looking through a straw, which is now starting to go. But it wasn't always like that. The first time I ever heard about RP was when I was about 7 years old. My sister, one of my older sisters, who was the first one to be diagnosed in our family, in the early 80s, went to a place called Moorfields Eye Hospital in London, and they told her, you've got this thing called retinitis pigmentosa, there's no treatment or cure. Oh, and by the way, you don't have kids. That's pretty much what he said to me, because it was crazy. They didn't know a lot about the condition back then. They knew it was the genetic side of things, and the information and advice going around was pretty limited and often quite poor. So I remember going at about 7 years old, going to my local eye hospital, having these eye drops put in my eyes, which I now know are dilating drops. I'm sure we've all had those. And I remember my vision going quite blurry for a little while and feeling like a little bit scared about it. But after that, it really wasn't spoke about. And I was always told, you know, we have this thing called retinitis pigmentosa in the family. You may lose your sight when you're older, but if it was going to happen, it won't be till you're very old. And that was kind of it. And I just got on with my life, and that's what I did. From the moment I left college, I worked as a singer. I toured all over the world. I used to sing on cruise ships. I did some musicals in like the West End in London, and toured all over, enjoying my life. And then things changed for me in my late 30s. I went for a routine eye exam, and I used to get my eyes checked every couple of years just to make sure I was okay for driving and things like that. But when I went for this routine eye exam it was in April of 2014, I walked in, they looked in the back of my eyes, and they saw that there'd been quite a lot of change with pigmentation on my retina, and immediately they said, oh, you need to stop driving straight away, and you need to get referred to a retinal specialist. So at that time, I just met Amy, who's now my wife. I just proposed to her on Christmas Day of 2013. We had our son previously to that on June 2013. So he was about 8, 9 months old in his car seat at the time I had this appointment. And we were saving for our wedding. We'd set a date of New Year's Eve that year, and everything just kind of changed. I lost my job because I was working in car sales at the time and still working as a singer, and everything I did involved me driving around independently. We applied for support through the government system in the UK, and there was a 9-month waiting list for trying to get help and support. So we had a really kind of tough 9 or 8 months of really struggling. We had to feed our kids on food parcels for a little while. I was struggling with anxiety and depression, not just because of the sight that I was losing, because my peripheral vision started to go really, really quickly, but for the financial pressure it was putting on my family. We actually lost our house. We had to go into social housing and things like that. It was really struggling, and I felt really guilty because of all this that was happening. But then things changed, as they always do. Everything always gets better. We all have challenges in our lives and dark times, but we always find a way to adapt and adjust. And the way that happened for me was actually my sister, who was the first one to be diagnosed, suggested that I go on Facebook and join some support groups. Like you do here, speaking to people who were going through the same thing, sharing experiences, the good and the bad, is a great support and a great comfort and helps you. And as soon as my sister suggested this, I started to speak to people on Facebook support groups for retinitis pigmentosa. And then from that, I got invited to go and attend a support group for people with RP and another condition called Usher syndrome. So for anyone that doesn't know what Usher syndrome is, it's the same sight loss as RP, but with hearing loss as well, so deafblind. So when I was going to this support group, the organisers had heard that I worked as a singer, and immediately they said to me, oh, would you come along and be the entertainment for the day and sing some songs? And I just went, absolutely I will. And the reason why I said that was because I was really anxious and nervous about going to this support group. It was my first time being around other visually impaired people, people with canes, people with guide dogs, and this was like a scary glimpse into my future. So that made me feel quite anxious. So when they asked me to be the singer and come and be the entertainment for the day, I said yes, because that was my comfort zone. I always feel relaxed in this kind of environment, talking to people, singing, all that kind of thing. And it gave me a reason to be there and took away that anxiety. So the way things all changed, and it wasn't really like one of these kind of eureka bizarre moments. I was in bed the night before going to this support group. I was going over ideas of songs to sing for the following day. My fiance, as she was at the time, Amy, now my wife, was trying to get to sleep next to me, and I'm on my phone. And I had this idea where I thought it'd be great if I could take a song that everyone knows, but change the words and talk about how I felt about my journey so far with one video. And I chose the song Stand By Me by Benny King. I'm sure we all know it. Because I love the opening line of when the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. Because that was like night blindness. So I rewrote the song. I changed the words up, changed the chorus up, added a couple of verses, called it Stand By Me RP. And when I performed it the following day, the room changed instantly. People were coming up to me saying that the words I'd written was describing how they felt about their own experiences, and it was helping them feel less alone. And instantly that changed something in me, because I always say that when I was diagnosed from that moment in that doctor's, the optician's waiting room, when I came out after spectacularly failing my visual field test, my world changed. I went through the things that a lot of people tend to go through with not just low vision and blindness, but any kind of new diagnosis. I went through a loss of confidence, a loss of independence, a loss of pride. But the biggest thing it took from me was my purpose. I didn't know where my place was in the world anymore. Everything I'd done had revolved around driving. And the way the unemployment rate is in the disability community and the low vision and blind community, employers who I would normally get a job with easily were putting the phone down on me as soon as I mentioned that I was going blind, which was scary. So instantly when I performed that song and people were saying that it was helping them, I found my purpose again, and I found something that I could do to make a difference in the world. So that was the start for me. Literally, I started writing poetry, because music to me and poetry are the same thing as song lyrics. I just started writing every single day. 2 to 3 poems every single day about the good, the bad, everything that we were going through, and sharing them online. And every time I shared one of these pieces of poetry online, I would get a message from someone on the other side of the world saying that I was able to help them feel less alone. But not only that, that they were using my words as a way for them to explain how they were feeling when they couldn't find the words themselves. And that was incredible for me. That really built my confidence and healed me as well. So actually, fast forward now to 8 years later, I've written, now we counted it the other day, I've written 1,030 something poems in 7 years, 4 books, 3 of which have been #1 releases in America and Australia, and I continue to speak at events and come to places like this and share the poetry. And actually, I always say now that I'm actually much happier now than I was before I started to lose my sight. One of the things that's really taught me is that little tunnel of vision I've got. I use it to focus on the beauty of each day and really pay attention more and notice things. Most fully sighted people walk around with their head in the screens, not knowing what's going on, and really not seeing what's really good in the world. And that's what it's taught me. It's taught me to be a better husband, a better friend, a better partner, a better dad, all these kind of things. So I want to share with you a piece of poetry that really sums that up now from my first book. It's called The Stranger. It talks about just that. It goes like this. Today a stranger asked me, what has blindness done to me? Has it limited the plans I've made or the things I hoped would be? Has it forced me now to settle on a life that's second best? Has it made me give up lots of things since I failed the blindness test? Do I still have aspirations, special places, dreams to go? Is there any point in beauty if the eyes don't work to show? But my answer came so quickly, not a thought considered twice. I am happy for this blindness, for the way it's changed my life. It has taught me what's important and shown me who my real friends are. And I wouldn't change a thing I've learned just to get back in my car. I have met amazing people since this RP took my sight. We share in common struggles, joined together through this plight. Though my retinas are dying, my mind's vision has increased. For each day I'm making memories, for long after sight has ceased. So never offer pity for the broken sense I've lost. For I feel I have gained more than the price that blindness cost. Thank you. So I was really saying, the first book, actually the way the first book came about was, when I started posting all these poems online, people were saying, you need to start a Facebook page. So I started a Facebook page and called it Stand By Me RP after that song. And then they were saying to me, you need to do a book. And I was like, I don't know how to do a book. I've never done a book in my life. So they started a GoFundMe campaign. They raised me money to self-publish my first book. And in February, because February is RP Awareness Month, February 2016, the first book was released. And through the power of the support of the low vision and blind community, It became the #1 European poetry release on Amazon in America and Australia. And that was all down to guys that supported it online and everywhere else, which is incredible. And actually, on the day the first book came out, really strange the way the world works, was me and my wife were on our way to a restaurant in the afternoon to go and celebrate becoming a published author for the first time. And as we were driving to the restaurant, my cell phone rang, and Aim's driving, I picked my cell phone up, and it was the UK charity Guide Dogs, and they'd found me a match for my guide dog on that day. And I met my first guide dog, my guide dog, Christopher, and a few days later, he's still with me now. He's nearly 9 now, and I've had him since he's 2.5. So that's incredible. On the negative side of RP, though, the hardest thing for me is, with it being a hereditary condition, the genetic side of things, the type that I have, because there's lots of different mutations of RP, means there's a 1 in 2 chance that my children, my son Austin, who's now 9, just turned 9 last week, and my daughter Ellie, who's 14, there's a 1 in 2 chance that they'll lose their sight when they're older with RP, just like me. So that naturally makes me feel guilty, because it would do, that something that I have inside me is going to take their sight, but also it inspires me to show them that no matter what sight you have taken from you, it can't take the vision that's in your mind. And actually, with the right support, like you guys get, with assistive technology and all the wonderful things that we've got in the world today, you can still achieve incredible things, and that is exactly what I'm all about. But I want to share with you a poem that really kind of talks about that now, that I wrote for my son Austin, who's back in the hotel at the TWA Hotel at JFK. First time in America, loving it, living the best life. This is called Shift This Cloud. How do I break the news of what I may have done to you? Won't know for sure, but doctors say the odds are 1 in 2. I look into your eyes and watch for signs I hope aren't there. Pray this RP will end in me, no faulty genes share. This tunnel world I live in, hope one day won't be your view. Don't follow in my steps or place foot inside my shoe. The battle for acceptance will be just a story told, with perfect sight, not hurt by light, clear vision, break the mold. I carry heavy guilt through sleepless nights and secret tears. I wait to know the answer, ticking clock of RP's fears. But if in future blindness does come knocking at your door, I'll lead you by example, show you life is so much more. My son be proud, will shift this cloud and dance in heavy rain. I'll show you all that's possible, strong heart and long white pain. With poems raise awareness, this will be my legacy. 3 books will travel around the world by Stand By Me RP. Some years from now, when you're fully grown, if blindness burden shared, just look at what your dad's achieved, so you'll be more prepared. Thank you. So, with regards to the books, as I said, Stand By Me RP Volume 1 came out. Well, it wasn't called Volume 1 because we didn't know there'd be a Volume 2. The first one came out in February 2016. Volume 2 then came out in February 2017, and Volume 3 came out in 2018. And I left it for a little while. We had this thing, you might have heard of it, called COVID, that was kind of kicking about. That kind of put plans on the back burner and stopped us doing a few things. But after we kind of got to the end of that, we just released my latest book, which I wanted to talk to you about briefly, in December, just of 2021, so it'll just come out. And it's called Austin's Amazing Adventures. It's the first in a series of new children's books, which are all short poetic stories. And it's about a young visually impaired boy who just happens to be called Austin, and his best friend, his guide dog Joe. And it's about them going to a school and all the interactions they have with their friends going to a mainstream school, and the challenges he faces and all things like that. And it's about helping children, not just with low vision and blindness, but with any kind of disabilities and different challenges, be better understood. Give them a character they can really relate to and identify with, and also break down those needless social barriers that a lot of them face. So as the books kind of go on in the future, the way the world's going to be set is we're going to actually have children within the story, which are all told in poetry, that have things like autism and ADHD and wheelchair use and all these different disabilities, so we can normalise them and really help children. And they're already being used in schools here in the US and in the UK to teach inclusion, which is great. So that's kind of why we're here, and we're going to the convention in Orlando with Foundation Fighting Blindness. We're launching a new program called Austin's Amazing Ambassadors, which goes off the back of the book, where we get children and even adults to go into their communities and through my poetry share their own stories and become peers and support for other people. So we're launching that. We're doing a lot of great work. Before we do, because it is a bit of a flying visit to me because I've got to go to this other event, I want to share with you a couple more pieces of poetry. One I wasn't planning to share, but one I think you'll really, really like. So I said to you, I've written well over 1,000 pieces of poetry now. And I often I write about sight loss and low vision blindness, and you know, people say to me, "Oh, how many poems can you write about this kind of thing?" Well, I've written 1,000 before, but how many songs can be written about love? Millions. So I've got loads of scope. But I always try and write things from a different kind of angle and try and be smart about it and clever about it. So a couple of months back, I got up one morning, and I need to share this. I'm just going to pull the poem up on my phone because I write all my pieces of poetry on my phone. Just bear with me 1 second. So I got up one morning and I wanted to write a piece of poetry about using a mobility cane. And how actually using a mobility cane for all of us is a process. A lot of people go through this process of denial, feeling embarrassed to be seen, especially with things like RP where it's an invisible disability and you get that, "Oh, you don't look blind" thing, more like that. I'm preaching to the converted here, we all know about that. So, you know, everyone I've always spoken to has always said to me, you know, I wish I'd have picked up a cane sooner. And actually a cane is a sign of strength that you're not willing to sit back and isolate yourself, and it's not a sign of weakness. So I wanted to write a poem about that. So I got up one morning and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it today. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to write a poem from the perspective of the cane. So it's the cane that's wrote the poem, and it's the cane that's talking. So I want to share it with you guys now, because I really think you'll appreciate this. It goes like this. You're not the only one who's felt embarrassed to be seen, outside walking with me. This for many's always been a part of the whole process, as together we will train, but in time you will realise you'll soon be proud again. I'm made to give you back the things that you may feel you've lost, like pride and independence, all the things that blindness cost. I'm not a sign of weakness, I'm a reason to be proud, alleviate anxiety when you are in a crowd. Sometimes I'm left behind or folded up inside your hand, but I'll be ready for you. I won't judge, I understand. I know these things are natural, it's the way that people stare, when you can still see some things, but for blindness you prepare. You don't need to see nothing to be able to use me. That's not the way that blindness works, it fades so differently. I'm here to be a symbol and a signal that you're strong, a reason not to isolate, a reason to belong. So when you're feeling ready, I'll be with you day or night. Unfold me, hold me confident, and swipe me left to right. Eventually you'll come to terms, our partnership will remain. It's me and you forever, I am your mobility cane. Okay, before I just finish, I just want to say one more thing. A bit of a shameless plug. I know you guys do a lot of things online, and when the pandemic hit in 2020, we kind of did the shift from doing physical events to doing virtual stuff as well. And I don't know if you're aware, but every Wednesday, like yesterday we did it, every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, we do this thing called Tea and Poetry, which is an online Zoom support group and webinar. We have people tuning in from the UK, across Europe, Australia, and across the US as well. And it's an hour of chat about all things blindness and low vision related. And we have special guests on. We've had some incredible special guests actually. And every week I write new poetry for it and I share it with the community. And if anyone would like to come and join us for that every Wednesday, you can do so by going to my website, which is obviously fully accessible, theblindpoet.net. We can share those details with you, and you can sign up for it. I'd love to, have some of you guys on and join the tribe. Is it the tribe we call it? It is the tribe we call it. Yeah. But we do that every Wednesday, and we're doing a very special one from somewhere in Florida next week, which is going to be virtual, and we'll have a live audience as well. Oh, nice. So that's going to be really cool from one of the lighthouses, I believe, there. But before I go, I want to share one more piece of poetry, and also I just wanted to say once again a massive thank you to the team here for inviting me to come in for what is the start of a very special 2 days of celebration and 2 days of giving, and I hope you will give all your support. I'm donating a signed copy of Austin's Amazing Adventures, and also I'm going to donate a special bespoke piece of poetry as well, which is going to be written especially for the person who gives. So yeah. So before I go, I want to share a piece of poetry with you, which is very close to my heart. I actually wrote this during the pandemic. Actually, on tea and poetry, I wrote this. And it's called Blind Perceptions. And when I wrote it, someone said to me, oh, that really encapsulates how a lot of us really feel about living with low vision blindness, and it really encapsulates the whole spectrum. So I often share it at events, and it's probably one of my longest pieces of poetry, and because it's like music to me. People say, how can you remember the words to these things? It's like songs. You know, a song comes on the radio that we've not heard for years, and all of a sudden we're singing along to it. And that's the same with reading a piece of poetry and reciting. So I want to share this with you, but thank you so much for having me. This is Blind Perceptions. I know there's strength inside of you, though all you feel is numb. Don't be afraid as eyesight fades, for what is still to come. You will adjust. In these words, trust. We share these tunneled eyes. A mix of strength and anxiousness, the same in me applies. My shins are full of bruises and my confidence misplaced. At times self-isolated, felt the world too much to face. So I'm here to remind you, all the times we fail don't matter. There's lots of misconceptions still, let's remind them of the latter. It's not that complicated, change how blindness is defined. Let's educate, articulate the many ways we're blind. It's never all or nothing, many shades and different views, yet theirs is stereotype they keep on printing in the news. No wonder some of us have fears when out in a crowded place. They see the cane but can't explain why we look them in the face. There's some of us who stay at home, convinced of the excuse that because we don't look blind enough, there's a need to be recluse. Don't waste your life on people whose opinions are way off. Just swipe your cane with courage. Hold your head with pride aloft. So never doubt what we're about, despite what some believe. Come join me on my mission and change the way we are perceived. I won't let the haze that fills my eyes consume the rest of me. There's more to life than edge of mouth, despite what I can't see. Try not to care as people stare with looks of vague suspicion. But why should I explain to them the terms of my condition? Though it's not simpler to stay home, won't waste another day. Their pity's just an obstacle that's getting in my way. And though I am blind, won't be confined by others' misconceptions, this poetry that spills from me will change their blind perceptions. Though anxious chest and days depressed have far from disappeared, I've learned to breathe while I still breathe, control these things I fear. My kids look on, not on what's gone, but all each day I teach. For if tomorrow their eyes pay, life's dreams are still in reach. So I'll not cry as vision dies, won't focus on the blur. No point in holding on to how those days and eyes once were. Thank you very much, man.
Very inspirational. Thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. It's our honor to have you with us today.
Right. I just want to say one more thing before I go. You were just talking about the misconceptions. I always like to leave on a laugh. So we're talking about the misconceptions that are out there. I'll share this little story, and I've got to tell you guys about guide dogs. So we all know how the thing with guide dogs. Often when I'm out with my guide dog, people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're training him?" And I go, "No, it's mine." "Oh, you don't look blind." All that thing. One of my friends a few years ago was going through London, walking through London with his guide dog, trying to get to an important meeting. And as he's walking through, this gentleman, he stops this gentleman, he's trying to find where this building is, and he says to this gentleman, "Excuse me, can you tell me where such and such a street is?" And the guy bent down, crouched down on the floor, and started giving the instructions to his guide dog. "What are you doing? I'm up here!" So, yeah, I just want to leave you on that story, but thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
We're happy to celebrate. What a great thrill to have Dave here. Amazing. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.